I welcome you all on behalf of Association of Muslim Professionals to the AMP Web Talk. AMP is a non-profit organization and is registered in India, United States of America, United Kingdom, and Australia. AMP has completed its 12 years in serving our community in the field of education, employment, and empowerment. AMP has a vision to positively impact lives of 10 million people by the year 2030. AMP's mission is to empower the underprivileged for the greater benefit of the society and nation as a whole. AMP's vision is to be a modern community which is advanced in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, and economically dynamic. So what AMP has achieved in these past 12 years is right in front of you all in this slide. You can just have a quick look at it so that you can understand our achievements, what projects we do, what activities under these projects we conduct. So we have SDPs that we call school development programs. We also have an employment assistance cell. We have a project on scholarships and self-employment. AMP has also got its resource center with 600 plus career counselors. We also do awards and partnerships. So what all we have achieved is in this slide. You can have a look at it. So these are our main flagship projects where we work towards benefiting our community and nation. Apart from that, AMP's presence is as such. On ground, Association of Muslim Professionals got more than 100 active chapters. We are present in 25 states and 16 countries with more than 6,000 active members. In AMP's online presence, we have 125,000 members and professionals who are connected to us through various social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Google Group, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn. If you wish to join AMP at any point of time, you can just log on to www.ampindia.org/joinamp, and we will be very glad to have you on board with us. Thank you. Okay, so now since I'm sure you all have, who are present here must have got a fair idea about AMP and its working in the field of community welfare. Moving forward to the session, I welcome each one of you to the session again on behalf of Association of Muslim Professionals. I'm Humaira Kabir, I'm your host today, and I'm working as Operations Manager at AMP USA. Along with me, we have Mr. Saeed Sa, who is Director of Technology at Swift E-Learning Services from Hyderabad. He's our AMP Hyderabad chapter head. I would like to introduce you all to the speaker of today's session, Mr. Salil Damboli, who is a senior software engineer at ZF Group with 5 years of experience in Python. So now, before I hand over to the speaker, I will request you all to please utilize your time by carefully listening to the instructor. These are learning sessions. They will always help you if you learn in your career path. Refrain yourself from chatting unnecessarily. We will be having a Q&A round at the end of the session for 20 minutes. So now over to you, Salil bhai. Please take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Humaira. So I hope the screen is visible and I am clearly audible.
Yes.
Just say yes in the chat window, everyone. Great.
Yes, Salil bhai, you may proceed now.
Yeah, great. So this is today's session is the second session. In the first session, we discussed what is Python exactly, why it is widely popular in current scenario, how it is being utilized by internet giants, big companies, and we discussed the general syntax, inputs and outputs, and etc. So in today's session, we are going to discuss more on data types. In last session, we just had small introduction, but today we are going to discuss this in brief. And with that, we will also cover some conditions and loops and few other language related, typically Python related topics. Also, we will try to cover functions if time permits. Okay, so let's start with the data types. So as we know, those who are new to the session, means those who did not attend the last session and they just joined the second session, for them you can use ideally, because we are going to do a lot of programming, we are going to do a lot of hands-on here. So it's better if you have ideally with you open in your computer, or you can use any web-based or internet-based Python interpreter or console, online console. Okay, yeah. So these are briefly the data types what we see in Python. One is integer, float, complex. These are all numbers, but these are also being divided. Numbers are being divided into integers, float, and complex number. So mostly we will not be dealing with complex in our real-time programming or in day-to-day programming kind of thing. But the people who work on the research or they use scientific data more towards mathematical calculations and processing. So they use complex numbers. For them, the complex numbers are useful, and Python provides provision as a kind of a data type for complex numbers. So let's see how those are being represented in Python. So let's say we have a variable called var, and when we assign 1, 2, 3 or any complete digit or any, you say, number which is complete, we call it integer, then it becomes of type integer. You can see when you do type var, you are getting int as a class. So its type is int. Okay. So in last session, we discussed how Python is intelligent and it automatically detects what data we are going to assign to the variable, what data we are going to assign to the variable, and based on that, the variable type is automatically decided. So suppose I say var is equal to ABCD, and when I say type var, you can say the variable type has changed now. Now the var has become string because we have assigned some literals. We have assigned some string literals to the var. Okay, so Python internally automatically detects what, yeah, Mr. Said, recordings are available on AMP YouTube channel. At any time you can go and get the past recording sessions on the YouTube channel to everyone. Okay, yeah. So whenever you assign something complete like 1 2 3 4, or let's say 1 1 2 2, so this is a complete number. It doesn't have any fractions of number with it. So this is a complete number. When we say var, so it becomes class of int, means it is an integer. Okay, so but when we say var1 is equal to 12.30, so we see that the number is not complete. There is a fraction added to this number. So this is not completely 12, but it has something 0.30 with it also, 12.30. So when I say var1 12.30, and when we say type of var1, it becomes float. Okay, so the people who are familiar with computer science, they know what is integer, what is float, and based on this, there are so many calculations which we deal with numbers. like float or integer, like that. So these are the data types related to related to numbers. One is integer, another we just saw is float. Now, as I said, there is also a number data type which is called as complex. So what this means, that there is a term complex called, you need not understand it completely, but you say something with since whatever we saw here till this point, all these numbers are real, like this can be presented in real world. When I say fingers is equal to 5, so it means we can really measure the fingers, 5 fingers present in our hand. So this number can be presented. Also, if we say, suppose there are chocolates is equal to 10.5. So this is also a real number. This means we have 10 complete chocolates and a half chocolate. Understand? So that means these numbers are real, but there are also some kind of numbers, we call it complex or imaginary. Those are not really can be presented in the real form or in the real world. Let's say we have something imaginary number is equal to 10 plus 5j. So this is the way we represent imaginary numbers. This means 10 complete and plus 5j. So this part 5j makes the number imaginary. So when you say type, we say type, you can see complex. Okay, we don't have to pay much attention here because this is not really being used in day-to-day programming. It is only used in scientific computing and processing. So just to have information like this also uh, this also presents in Python. We are covering this. So integer, float, and complex. These are the kind of data types related to numbers. Okay. So the next important data type is string. So let's yeah. So what are strings? Like we let's new file. We don't need this. Yeah. So anything with literals. So anything with literals. Suppose we have something with us like a name. Name can be a literal or an integer or something which can be shown as a character. That is sequence of character or a collection of character, or not a collection in proper terms, ideal terms, but we can say an array of characters can be called as string. So when I say string is equal to, this is Python. So we say this is of class string. Now, why we are covering this in detail is because a lot of times people who are doing programming day-to-day programming with Python, they know that how strings are important. There are a lot of operations, search operations, or some detailed, you know, uh, text related operation, text processing. It requires lot of where you require a lot of text processing in terms of achieving your solution or result. There we deal with lot of strings, and Python also in its Python also in its Python also in its functionality provides a lot of function to strings. So let's cover some strings modules. Now, when we say we have string, there are a lot of other things we should know about. So there is a term called as immutable. So what is immutable and mutable? As the language suggests, or as the English term suggests, mutable is nothing but whether we can modify something or not. Okay, if I have this thing, can I modify this string with keeping the same variable? Suppose I do, we will study this later, but suppose I do this, zeroth element of string. This means that I am accessing zeroth element of string. Okay, it is capital T. Now when we say modifying, what we do, string zeroth element is equal to 10, or let's say this will be digit, so let's say it is equal to small t. You can see Python throwing an error showing string object does not support item assignment. That is because this data type is immutable. Once you assign something to a variable, once you assign a string value to a variable, this can only be overridden by another value. You cannot change, or you cannot change any individual position or in place position when you assign something to it. Okay, so obviously I can override it with something else. Suppose I say this is Python. Okay, so what is the difference between these two? This does not throw any error since we assigned another value. Okay, so the main difference between these two is, and what we did here is, here we assigned a value to the string variable named as string, and here we assigned another value to the string. So we overwritten the value. Are you understanding? We overwritten the value, but here we are trying to change the individual location in a string. So this is, we are trying to modify the place, or we are trying to modify the string variable, and this is not allowed in Python. So that's why we call it as immutable. So strings data types are immutable in nature and you cannot assign anything to it. So while seeing this, we got the idea that it also has indexing. Indexing means whatever data you have passed, each letter or each place has its own index. And the indexing starts from the 0 because in computer science, 1 is not the first number when you start counting. 0 is the first number when you start counting. So the same way, this is 0 and this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Okay, and using the bracket, square bracket, you can individually access the data individually. So say, let's say a is equal to hello. Now when I say a is equal to 2, you can see we are getting the first n. So it is 0, 1 and 2. So indexing, you should understand when you are dealing with Python, that is strings are when you are dealing with strings in Python, that is strings are immutable they have indexing in place and you can access them individually. Now coming to next point, strings are iterative. Now when I say iterative, that means it has a relation with the loops. We will we will we will discuss this point in coming session, or maybe when we will cover the loops in Python. Right now we are not right now we are just learning the data types. After this we will cover the loops in Python. So till that time we will be holding what is iterative nature of string, and when we will cover loops, I'll explain to you that what is the iterative property of the loops. But for now, you just understand strings are of sequential data type. That is, this is sequence, zeroth index, first index. So this is the sequence. Whatever you are seeing here, it is a sequence. These are immutable, can be individually accessed, and there are several built-in methods. We just are going now we are now just going to see that what are those methods, and those can be really handy while doing the Python operations. Yeah, Miss Renuka, space have index. So here you can see each and every character has index in Python. Okay, so when we say hello world, and this is space will be having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space will be having the fifth position. So when I say 5, you can see a space. Okay, so space also have. Okay, how the Unicode specify each index, Mr. Ali Ashraf. So what do you mean Unicode specify each index? Whatever value we are storing here in variables, those are Unicodes. Do you mean this is Unicode? This is digital. This is digit. This is integer. It's not Unicode. Be clear to your questions so that we can discuss it more. Okay, going forward. Now let's see some methods using which we can square bracket in string, it converts into array. No, arrays are not the built-in data types in Python. It is not fundamentally provided in Python. Though there is a look like brother like list in Python, which we are going to cover soon after this. But arrays are not part of Python by default. We have to import some packages additionally, and then we can use the array. Okay, maybe due to this square brackets, which is familiar to you because of array, you may be seeing similarity because this, but this is just to access the individual position in a sequence. Since this is a sequence, we are accessing its position using digit. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's see how strings and how many methods we have to cover with the string. Yeah. So let's say we have this hello world. Now there is something like default methods. So we all know, like in like discussed in the last session, and those who know computer science, have background, and who have introduction about object oriented programming, so they know what is objects and classes. So in last session, knowingly I did not mention, but this is a big point, that everything what we see here in Python, everything we see in Python is an object of something. Okay, so everything what we see here in Python is object of something. So when we say type of A, this says class str. So there is a class called as str implemented by Python itself. By default, it comes with the Python, and A is an object of that class. So everything, whatever you see here, everything in Python is an object. You just remember this, though right now you will not understand it completely, but as you will go and go ahead and learn further, you will deal with programming more in Python, you will understand what I'm talking. This will make sense later to few who are new to this term. So everything we see here is object. Everything in Python is object. Okay, yeah. So like that, when we say it is object of class str, now A is an object of class str. That means A comes with some methods which is implemented by Python itself. Okay, yeah. So there are some default methods for which we don't have to import anything, like when we write a code. Let's see this example. When we write here code, we are not importing anything. So what is import is, by default we don't get everything. By default we don't have everything available in programming. What we have available is few default things, like this keyword, else, if, some few things. To have additional functionality in program, what you do is you do import something. Okay, there are few files which have implemented functionalities in Python. We will be covering this in upcoming sessions, but just as a just as a just to understand what it stands, to cover the strings built-in methods, we are covering this. So import something like import OS. So OS is nothing but a library, an external file which has implemented a lot of functionalities. For that, you don't have to write anything new. You can use that functionalities ready-made. So to use that a ready-made functionality without putting your efforts, without wasting your efforts, because there is something called as dry in programming, which says don't repeat yourself. Okay, so that means if something is implemented, don't waste your efforts implementing that again. Don't reinvent the wheel. Wheel has been invented by someone else. Now you just build on top of the wheel, but don't reinvent it. Okay, so this is like OS is a library which has a lot of functions built in. So using this import, we import some functionality. Same kind of thing here. We don't have to import anything. That's why we are calling this a built-in methods. I'm explaining this in detail because as we go ahead and we cover lists, dictionaries, tuples, they also have built-in methods. So that time I will not be explaining this in detail. So just understand the concept. It is same everywhere. When we create object, or let's say when we have a variable, it is by default object of something. Like we saw, it is object of class str. So by default, it has some methods, and let's see those methods now. So the first method is capitalize. So when we call this method using the object of string, class string, A is an object because we have assigned some string literals, we have assigned some character sequence data to A, and Python automatically has identified that A has to be of class string. So A is now object of class string holding the value hello world. Okay. Now there are some methods like A dot capitalize. When we call this method, you can see earlier hello world H was small. Okay. Now you can see H is capital. Okay. So what it does, it makes first of anything capital. Now let's take another example. I say A is equal to hello. Now this H is already capital. And when we say A dot capitalize, it recognizes that H is already capital. It does not make any change and it keeps it as it is. Okay, so this is kind of method. You don't have to implement anything where you are processing any kind of text where you need to modify anything. You can use the default methods provided by string class. Okay. The next method is count. So what count is, we have A is equal to hello. When I say A of count, sorry, A of count L. So this counts how many times L has been occurred in hello. Okay. So it says 2. Okay. There are also few methods like ends with. So our hello ends with O. So if I give small o, it says true. Yeah. The A ends with O. Yes. But when I say A ends with capital O, it says false because whatever O we have, that is small. Okay. So ends with gives you true or false based on whatever input you provide. So this is because if I want to identify any word in Python, suppose I want to identify, okay, whatever input I'm getting from user, that has to be ended with some character. So at that time, you can utilize this function, a default function, built-in function, to understand. Yes, Mr. Said, these are libraries of built-in function. These are built-in function, Mr. Said. These are not libraries. Libraries are something else. We will cover this in upcoming session, these libraries. So A dot ends with O will give you false because our O is small. Same have, there is also a same but reverse functionality, that is starts with. This was ends with, now it is starts with. Now this hello starts with capital H. So when I pass H, you can see true. Okay. Yeah. There are several built-in methods. You can just go on python.org website, any Python tutorial you find. Or if you are using, ideally, just type A dot and you will get all the methods here. We don't need to cover this in detail because this is available. You can easily go and check each method, what it does. These are very simple method. Okay. Let's cover one more method, that is alpha. This says true because whatever string letters we are having in A, those are all our characters. Those are all alphabets. Okay. But when I say A is equal to hello 1, 2, 3, and when I say A is equal to is alpha, it says false because this string also covers a character of integer. Okay. Is here any ignore case functions? I did not understand, Mr. Roshan Khan. Okay, we will cover all the questions in the end. Yeah. So is alpha returns whether the complete string is made of alphabets. So if that is the case, it returns true. But if there are some literals like this, it returns false. Also, there is something called as a dot is digit. If all the digits, if string contains all the digit, it gives true. So what if the string contains digits and alphabets? What should be there? So for that also, string has a functionality called is alpha. Let's search for that. Is alnum. It says true. It contains alphabet as well as digits, numbers. Okay. Yeah, hope everyone understood this. Now, when we talk about the string, there is also part of encoding it. Okay, so what is encoding? Encoding is nothing but a security feature. Let's say we are having some string, but we don't want it to see to someone. So for that also Python provides encoding things. So there are different algorithms, or we say um, different encoding standards using which you can convert your normal looking string into something else which is not understandable easily. So encoding is used for security purpose. Let's see that. So there is something called encodings dot aliases. And when we say so these many encodings, are available. Each one of them is different kind of encoding. Okay, so let's take one example, HKSCS. Let's take this. Okay. So when I say a dot encode HKSCS, it is not the proper one. Let's take something else. Let's say IBM 500. You can see we got something else. A was hello 123, but when we encoded using some set of standard IBM 500, we got something like this. So what if we have something like this? Suppose I have, okay, A2 is equal to A dot encode. No, A2 is something like that. What if I have to convert back to its original value? What we will do is we will decode it. We will decode it using the same standard. Using the same standard, right? No, we will decode it what it was earlier. UTF coding can't decode byte x93 in the position you standard. Okay. Let's decode using the same thing. Yeah. So whatever key you have passed, whatever standard you have passed, You have to pass it again to convert back to its original value. So this is mainly used for security purpose. Okay. And let's continue to the next point, which is slicing. Remember that slicing is very important. It's not just for strings, but for upcoming data types like list and tuples. Slicing is very important. So let's discuss it first. What is slicing? So slicing is nothing but, as its English meaning stands, we just cut. Let's say A is equal to QWERTY. Okay, A is equal to QWERTY. Now, what if I need something of this? I just need the half of it, or I just need the first two of it, or I just need the last two of it. For that, in C kind of programming languages, or in other programming languages, compiled programming languages, where slicing functionality is not available, we simply write a big program. Okay, we will scan the list, then we will take just first two based on how many digits, how many index we want from 0 to this, okay, from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, 0 to 3, kind of that. And for that we have to write a complete program. But Python provides us a functionality where we can easily achieve this easily. Let's see this, how it can be done. We will just say we need the string from 0 to 2. So when I say 0 to 2, it means that we want string starting from 0 up to 2, not 2. It says we don't want 2, we want up to 2. So what is up to 2? 0 and 1. Okay, understand this. When we say we want 0 to 2, it means 0 and 1, not 2. So when we execute this, we get QW. So here it means that start from something and end up to. Start from something and end up to. Okay, if I say 0 and I don't pass anything, so it will keep going until it reaches its end. Okay, and it delivers complete the string. So that means go until end. Also, when we don't pass anything, by default it takes 0 if we don't pass anything here. If we don't pass anything, by default it takes 0. Okay, but if we pass something here, if I pass 4, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, first 4 letters. Okay, so this is the way slicing works. If you want to go more advanced slicing, if you want more control on how you want to fetch a data or how you want to cut the data, there is also third argument you can pass, not an argument, but third place where you can put the number and you can get the desired output. So when I say I need 2, so this means step. So what does it mean? If we don't pass here anything, it considers that step is 1. When I say step is 1, that means after 1 it will go to 2 and it will go to 3, it will go to 4 until the end is met. But when we add 2 here, that means step is 2. So after 0th position, it will go to 2nd position. And after 2nd position, it will go to 4th position. I hope you are understanding. This is called as stepping. So let's say A42, it gives me Q and E up to T. T is not considered because we are not slicing it properly. We are not taking the T value, but we are just going up to T. And within this string, with the step of 2, we are getting Q and E. Hope you are understanding. A is equal to 4 into 4 is to 2, 0 is to 2. So this means ideally A of 0 is to 4 is to 2. QE. When we don't pass anything, by default it considers 0. Okay, there is something else also, like take this as advanced use of the string. But if there are many combinations you can try with. You can simply play with putting different numbers. You can put negative digits, you can put positive digits, and only integers are allowed. No float values are allowed here. And you can simply reverse this string using the slicing. So just by using this, you can see we have reversed it. So I'll explain this, what this is. So this means start with 0 till complete end, and when you reach the end, step is -1. Understand? So when I start, so this means complete string, and when I add -1, that means you get the complete string and you start from -1 considering this position. So you can pass negative digits also, like if I say -1, it gets the last. It doesn't matter how lengthy is the string, it doesn't matter how many characters are there. When you say A of -1, that means you are taking directly the last character of the string. Understand this. This is very important. When I say A is equal to -2, it takes the second last character. We are spending much time here because when we cover list and dictionary, list and tuples, we are not going to discuss much of slicing because it is same. Slicing is same for list, tuples, and strings. Okay. So when we pass -1, this is indexing. This is not slicing. This means we are taking the last. When we say slicing only when we pass colon. Understand? When we say slicing only when we pass colon. This is accessing an individual position in a given sequential data. Understand this? I'm repeating once again. This kind of execution or this kind of operation is accessing an individual position showing by this index in given sequential data. Okay. Yeah. So using the same principle, when we say A and we don't pass start and end, we get the complete string, and the step is -1. Step is -1. So that means when we start from this position, -1 is this, again -1, again -1, again -1, and by this way, it completely reverses the string. Our original string is this, and it completely reverses the string. So you can play a lot of things in slicing. You can do a lot of stuff. If I want, suppose I want data from 4 to the end, we can also get that fourth position is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is T, T to end. So we only get TY. Okay. So this is slicing. Slicing is very important. You can do a lot of operations without doing lot of programming. It gives an advantage. It becomes very handy when you are writing big code. You can just apply, or you can just write this small kind of thing, and you get the desired result. Okay, so this is slicing, and we covered almost all points in a string. We learned slicing. We just don't know what is iterative yet, but we will discuss in upcoming sessions. Now let's move to our next data type, that is list and tuples. So like this, list and tuples are a kind of data type, sequential data type, but it is kind of array. Like when we say a string, here you can see everything is a character. Every value we have assigned to A is a character. Whether that's 1, 2, 3 or 4, that is also character. It's not until we write 1 without inverted commas. This is integer, this is number, but as soon as when we add an inverted comma, it becomes a character. This becomes a string. So when we type of 1, it says of class str. Understand this. So everything we assign is string, but list have an advantage. List have an advantage. So list are presented with the square brackets. List are presented with the square brackets, and you can add as many as data you want. You can add as many numbers you want. You can add strings. You can add floats. You can add whatever you want. You can even add list. Okay. So this is like a trunk. This is like a big trunk. You can add whatever value you want. This comes very handy while programming. You can do a lot of data operations using lists. These are great news. These are immutable. These are mutable. That means you can modify your strings without overwriting it. Understand these words. Write down somewhere. If you are not understanding, write down a typical word. What is immutable? What is mutable? How we override the variable if it is immutable? How we modify the variable if it is a mutable? Just write down all this stuff. If you don't understand this, and you can later check it on internet or ask the questions. Okay, going forward, we have A is equal to 1, 2, 3. We have a lot of data. Okay, we have a lot of data. And there is something called length. I forgot to tell you in strings, but this is a default function provided by Python, which tells how many elements are present or what is the length of a variable. So this says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there are total 7 elements present, and we can get this value using len function. So you just have to type len, kind of this, and you add a variable name, or you pass a variable name, or you can simply pass data. That means I'll pass simply this, and it will tell me 6. Okay, so these are small things which come very handy if you're writing big code. Just keep this in mind, note down somewhere if you can. These are important things if you are learning Python for first time. Okay, moving forward. So lists are mutable. That means I can change the position 1 to 8. I can change the position 1 to 8, and Python will not throw any error. And when we see what is A, you can see the second position has now been changed. So this means the lists are immutable. You can modify the list. This is very good. A value in this kind of sequence, it has indexed as soon as you add this to list. It gets indexed. It gets something on its head, 1 number, 2 number, 3 number as an index. So you can say hello is at 5th position. So that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Its index is 4. Okay, keep this in mind. And let's see how we can do slicing. So the same way like we did with the strings, lists are also entitled for slicing. When I say A nothing colon nothing, it shows the entire list. When I say A from second element to the last to the end, up to the end, it gives the modified list. It doesn't modify this position. It doesn't modify this argument, but this returns something, and in that way you can assign this to something. I'll say modified A is equal to A of 0. Modified A, you can see. So this returns something. So you have to catch this return value into something. We have stored this return value in modified A, and as we can see, modify A is now this thing. Okay, so you can do a lot of operation. You just after this, I know a lot of people will be having questions. This what is this? Just listen to this proper words. You can ask the questions, of course, but since we have the limited time, you just note down the proper keywords, whatever we are going to discuss, and then later you can search that on internet also. By this way, you will get more familiar to these kind of things. Okay, yeah. So lists are also entitled for slicing. You can say lists are iterative. We are going to discuss this later. Lists also have several built-in methods to manipulate. So if I say, I'll just show you the example, a simple example. If I say A is equal to pop. Pop means when you use pop in sequential data, it means you are deleting something. That means you are deleting something. When I say pop 5, 5 is at third position in A. 5 is at third position in A, and when I say A dot pop 5, string object cannot be interpreted. Okay, there is no string, it's an integer. Okay, it's an integer. So when I say pop 5, so it popped. Okay, yeah. So we have to give the index, not the value. So when I said pop 5, it deleted the 5th position. So what is the 5th position? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th element, 12.23. When I said pop 5, it deleted 12.23 from this list. Now when we again print the A, you can see 12.23 is not available now. So this kind of methods, you can try a lot of methods. These are very useful. You can even see the slicing, how it works with the list, same as Python. Also, there are a lot of methods, like there is a count, there is a pop, like count like a in strings how we use the count method. The same way there is one more method called as append, which means you can add something into list. Okay, when I say append, it adds, I'll add 333. So when next time you say a, this number has been added in the last. It doesn't matter you are adding a number or a list or any kind of data type. You can add any kind of data type. This is a speciality of list. You can add any kind of data type. It does not require to be stored of the same type. It does not require to be stored of the same type. You can add any kind of data here in the list. Okay. Yeah. So this is list. We discussed almost every point. Sequential data type. We discussed mutable list. Sorry. We discussed, it is iterative, we are going to discuss later. We discuss a lot of building methods. You can check on python.org tutorial on its official website. You will find a lot of building methods used widely and slicing. Now coming to tuples. Tuple is kind of a brother to list. Okay. Same functionality, same everything. Only the difference is tuple is not mutable. Tuples are immutable. Okay. So when we say type of A, you can see it's type of list. Let's say we override A with something else. We override it with some 1, 2, 3, 4. We say type A. When we say type A, we can see it's of class tuple. Okay. So what tuple means? Tuple is a data type which is immutable, which is same as list. You can add any kind of data into it, but you cannot modify the data on its position. You cannot modify the data on its position. When I say A of 2 is equal to something hello, it does not allow it. Tuple object does not support item assign. It throws error. But same way lists are mutable. You can assign any value to any position. You can assign any value to any position. Okay. So this is the major difference between tuples and list. And therefore there are a lot of built-in methods for list, for modifying it, for doing a lot of things, for for changing the position, this and that, and those methods are not applicable to tuples because it tries to change the data, it tries to alter the data, and that is not allowed. So simple methods like length, a dot count, this kind of methods you can see it online. We are not going to discuss these things here in the session. You can go and explore, but these kind of methods are there, but those who deal with the data alteration, those kind of methods are not applicable for tuples. Okay, so tuples are the same, lists and tuples are the same, only difference is tuples are immutable, and that's why tuples are also called as immutable list. Tuples are also called as immutable list. Obviously you can override the data. I will override it with 1 comma 2 comma 3. This is possible because we are changing A completely. We are not altering the individual position. We are replacing the A. It's like there is a home in certain position. The home does not allow entry inside it once there are 10 people, but we just completely remove the home and we built a tower kind of a thing. Okay, if we try to discuss this in a real-time scenario. So this is what we done, we overwritten it. So lists are mutable and tuples are immutable. Okay, slicing is applicable for tuples or tuples also. So we can slice them. Let's say 1 to n. So it takes 2 and 3. Okay, slicing is possible. So coming to the next data type, which is dictionary. Dictionaries are also, so these few data types like strings, dictionaries, tuples, lists are very important. Pay attention to here. So dictionaries are nothing but collection of keys and values. So there is something called as hash mapping, or a computer science term, where sorry, hash table, where you have certain kind of table. Let's say let's say you have a table here. So you have certain type of table. There you have brackets. Okay, you have certain kind of table, and then you have values. Suppose I have a key A, then it has value. Hello. Is tuple only for numbers? No, Mr. Munir. It's not only for tuple. Sorry, it's not only for integer. You can add like a list. You can add so many data types you can add in it. But once you add something to tuple, you cannot modify. In place modification is not allowed. Okay. So this kind of thing, and suppose there are several like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and several values. So this is something like a table, and this form is stored inside memory, because as soon as you call something, suppose as soon as this is like an index, when we say A of 1, this is like an index, we have given some key to find. And what is the key? Key is the index number. Though this is very bad example to explain, but I'm just telling you, this is like a key we are passing. One key we are passing, and one key is nothing but the position. Yes, Nikhil. There is a different syntax. Lists are shown by the square bracket, and tuples are shown by circular bracket. Okay. Yeah. So this kind of table, whenever you create a dictionary, dictionaries are created by curly brackets and with values assigned to with keys assigned to values. Okay, separated by commas. Now these keys you can assign any kind of value. Let's say we have B with us and it is a list. Value can be anything. Let's say this is X. X is a, when you say type X, it's a dictionary. Dict. It's a dict. Okay, so this kind of thing is there. So very in short, we will discuss in only 30 seconds why hash tables. So in computer programming, when you have very large data, suppose there is a list of containing 10,000 elements. Suppose there is a list like this containing 10,000 elements. So that time when you ask, go and fetch some 6,000 index element to computer or to Python, it has to do lot of operations to go and fetch that. Okay, but when you use dictionaries, you have certain keys that is mapped to the value. Okay, by this way, what you do, you just go to the key. Key is nothing but mapped with a memory location. You just go directly to the memory location and fetch the data. So relatively, accessing data from dictionaries are faster than accessing data from a list. Okay, so this is kind of functionality Python provides. Okay, if you want something this type, you take this, you use this. So dictionaries are fast. They are implemented by using hash table. Just now we saw what is hash table. Hash table is something like this kind of table which has key mapped by a value. Okay, key mapped by a value. Dictionaries are mutable. They are also mutable. Yes, you can change the values. And if you want to access a particular key, you just pass the key name, like we pass the index number in list and string. You just pass the key name here. Okay, B is the key name. When we pass B, it returns whatever value is assigned to it. 1, 2, 3, 4 list is assigned to B. So it returns whatever value is assigned to it. Okay, yeah. So lists are also mutable. When I can also assign some value. Suppose, yeah, we have assigned B to some other value, and when we say X, you can see first value hello, second value world. We have replaced 1, 2, 3. So this is mutable. There are also several built-in methods like we saw for list, we saw for tuples, we saw for strings. Same way, there are a lot of built-in methods. You can always go on internet and check, and it is faster for accessing the data. Okay, yeah. So till now we saw a lot of things. We discussed a lot of information. We discussed data types. Data types, nothing but any language depends on data types. And when you get the data types, then you also have to do some operations. Correct? Yeah. So these are some group operations which can be performed with the data, arithmetic operators. So let's, in short, discuss this. You can check, because we cannot discuss this completely, but we will see this something important. So let's take this different. Yeah. So let's say we have a string called ABCD, and we have another string called as XYZ. Okay. So addition between strings are allowed. So when you say A plus B, you get the addition. But subtraction is not allowed. Subtraction between strings are not allowed. So let's say A minus B, unsupported operand type. Subtraction is not allowed. Multiplication is not allowed. Can't multiply sequence. But listen to this. But when I say A into 4, you can say 4 times ABCD repeating itself. Okay, you can say 4 times ABCD repeating. So multiplication with number is allowed. That means double it, triple it, quadruple it. Okay, yeah. So this way also addition of lists are allowed. You can directly add the lists. Same way tuples. So these are like, we are not discussing these examples here because these are easily understandable. We have very limited time and we should not spend time on these topics. But just to understand, these can be used in this way. Obviously, 2 plus 4 can be done, because so the same way you can apply this in different kind of data types. You can apply these operators, we call this operators. So these three first point, sorry, these three first operators: arithmetic, assignment, and compare. Okay, so comparison operators are nothing but A is equal to B. This checks whether A is of the same value, and it is notified by double equal to. Okay, not equal to is presented by exclamatory mark and equal. So when I say A is not equal to B, obviously, yes, it is true because A is not equal to B. A's value is different and B's value is different. Same way, you can see here is not equal to, you can see less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, so on. So these are, I think by your own, you can check this. Only some things I want to discuss, that is in, not in, is not. These last two types of operator, that is membership operators and identifier operators. So what this tells to us is, by its name only you can see membership operator. Suppose there is a list called as ABCD. Now A contains 4 characters A, B, C, D. When I say A in A, that means this operator, in operator, this in operator is membership operator. It checks whether this A is present in this string or not. Let's this is a bit ambiguous because the string name is something else. I'll say string is equal to ABC. I say B in string. Is it true? B is in string? Yes, B is in string, and that's why we can see it returns true. So this is like we check the membership. Is this the member of a string? Is this a member of a string? Yes, and that's why it returns true. But there is also something like not in. It returns false because B is a part of the string. But there is something like Z, which is not part of a string. So when I say Z not in string, yes, Z is not part of a string. So this is a membership operator where you check whether something is part of something or not. This can be used also with the list, with the dictionaries, with the tuples. Okay, it cannot be used in integers. I'll say 1 in 1 2 3. No, this doesn't matter. This is not applicable. Okay, it works with only iterable. So now this term comes iterable. What does it mean is whether we can iterate, whether we can go from one character or whether we can go from one element to another element, whether we can iterate over something. So for that we need some sequence. Suppose there is a list and list contains 1 2 3 4. As we see, it is a sequence. After 1 comes 2, after that comes 3, after that comes 4. So we can iterate over it. We will go to first position, then we can go to second, we can go to third, we can go to fourth. So whatever data types, those allow this kind of traversing. We are traversing from one element to another element. Just you can see here, we are traversing from one element to another element. That means this is iterable. And just to give you an idea how you will check whether a data type is iterable or not, let's say data is equal to 1 2 3 4. You just, okay, this is, we will discuss this later, but you just apply dir to data, and if you find something like this in dir data, if you find something like this underscore underscore iter underscore underscore, that means this thing is iterable. Okay, We will discuss in object-oriented sessions. But for now, you just keep this in mind because we are going towards we are diving deep in Python. So for that, you have to you should keep some patience and just keep learning. Later, you will unfold all the um, uh, not understood things. But for now, focus on it. So this is membership operator. And another operators I want to discuss are identity operators. That is not. So there is something. So when you assign some data, I assign 12 to A. I also assign 12 to B. Now A and B are same. So what identity operators check is whether both the data points to the same memory location or not. Remember this is important. What identity operators check is whether both the data types point to the same memory location or not. When I say A is B, it is true because when I say ID of A, by using this is the built-in method, this is the built-in function. By using ID, you can check the location. Okay, and then I say ID of B, you can see both the IDs are same. Okay, yeah, you can say both the IDs of same. Yeah, said by just 5 minutes. We'll start at question and session at 8.
No problem,
I
Sunil.
guess.
No problem. We have a lot of questions though. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. So we can say lot of not lot of, but we can say the memory location is same. So this means A is B, and yes, that is true. But what if A is having some arbitrary value and B is also having some big arbitrary value? Let's say is this is false because what Python internally does is it has some default stored values up to 256. Up to 256, Python stores this value by default in its memory, and as soon as you assign something up to 256, it just directs that stored data to this variable. So up to this, you will find IDs are equal. IDs are equal up to 256. As soon as I move forward, you can see IDs change. Now these two IDs are not same, and that's why when I say A is B, it gives false. Now when they are not pointing to the same location, we have to use A is not B. Yes, A is not B. So understand this. Identity operator deals with the memory location. Membership operator deals with whether the data is present in the sequence or not. Okay? Yeah. So next we are going to discuss conditions and loops. So we will try to cover this in next session, hopefully. We can take the question answer. We can take the questions. Say back.
Okay. Thank you so much, Salil Bhai, for this inspiring session yet again. I'm sure that from the last session there were a lot of attendees today as well, and participants have joined for the first time today. I hope that even you had a good time. So Salil Bhai, we have a lot of questions, so we will try our best to take as many questions as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, but for people who haven't who have sent the questions late, so we'll try our best. So Tasleem Begum has a question. If we want to overwrite it, then we must write along with the previously written.
No, override means you just overwrite it. That means it doesn't matter what you are overwriting with. Suppose A is equal to previously of data type int. Now I override with something like hello. Now when I say type A is becomes str. So you're just changing the value in it. A is just a variable. It just kind of you can say a container. First time we had put cashews in a container, suppose 1, 2, 3, and now we just remove the cashews and we had put chocolates. So now container is the same, but earlier the container was of cashew. Now container of chocolates. Okay, so we are just overwriting. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Is it necessary to use underscore after typing string?
No, not required. I was just typing it because we should not use certain keywords when we are programming, because these keywords might be saved by the language. This kind of so it overrides the original value which language holds. So we should not use the words like this. So either you use your own words like starting with str, this means it is your own, or something like my string. Make sure that certain keywords, typical keywords like strings and uh, keywords like that, you should not use directly. That's why I
Okay.
was using underscore. It is not an important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so Mariam Munir is asking, is format and replace the same thing, meaning for the functions?
Format and
Replace.
for strings or what?
Yeah, I guess it's for the strings. Is dot format is what I think they're asking. Is dot format and replace the same thing? Meaning, are they functions? I think that is the question. Is format and replace, are they functions?
Format and replace for which context? Like there is something called format when you do print. Like in first session we learned that when you say uh, print format.
Yeah, I think maybe the question was more about are they functions or not? Okay, format and replace. Are they used as data types or functions? I think they wanted to know.
They are functions obviously whenever
Yeah, I think that was the
they are
question. Are they
functions. Yeah.
functions? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Samarth has a practical question here. When I typed var equal to 15 by 2 and I
Mhm.
typed type of var, it said float. And when I typed var2 equal to 12 by 2, that is the second variable, and I
Mhm.
typed type of var2, it said float. Whereas in the second case, it should show type is int because 12 by 2 is 6, right? But it did not. Why?
Yeah, this is because by default Python takes, you can see here,
Yeah. Okay.
by default Python considers division something as related to float. Okay,
Okay.
though this is you can see, because where you will see when we do some kind of though this is a complete integer and it doesn't have any fraction related to it, but whenever you do this kind of division, you clearly see that it comes with dot 0 0. Okay, so let's print var 2. You can see it comes with 6.0. So though it is not really a float, but Python says it has to be float because we are dividing, and dividing may occur to something else. Like suppose we are dividing, dividing can produce lot of friction values, lot of float values. Sorry, this is again complete. Yeah. So for that, Python says, okay, let's say by default, any kind of division we will present with this float. Yeah.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions on how can we count the number of characters in a string?
So it is by the len function. We have a is equal to hello. So when we say len, it says 5. Okay. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah. What is double colon used for? When is double?
Hello.
Yeah. When is double colon used?
Yeah, it's not like when we have to use exactly, but you can use it as something if you want to print something. Let's say I want to print hello, your name is XYZ. Now, if you see, I want to highlight this part as it is, as in a natural language, as in a real-time world, we use inverted colons. Okay, single or double. So if we want to do something like this, you can see this contradicts with something here. This way it throws an error, invalid syntax. Okay, to come with this, what you do is you do like this. Understood? Now you can do the other way also. You can use double colon here, you can use single colon here, and double colon here. Same way you can see. You can use this this way. So it's not like it is not something like you should use double colon always or single colon always. It is just to use it conveniently. Yeah, next question.
Yeah, so one question is, I'm combining few questions here. There is one question from Mr. Shahid, question from last session which is not answered. Please, how do we set up the editor, that is Notepad++ with idle to write and execute?
Idle is an interpreter. We don't set it with the Notepad++. If there is a way, I think I'm not really aware with it. But let's say this is more of something like configuration question. I think you can get this kind of solution online, but for now I'm not aware.
Okay, Imran Alam, which type of language translator is used in Python?
Language translator.
Yeah.
Which type of language translator used? I'm not sure because I never heard about this language. What does it mean? Like language translator? What kind of language translators? That means underneath what mechanism is used. That's what he wants to ask.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so that is the.
Yeah. So it is implemented using C. It is implemented using pure C language. Python is on top of that. So whatever functionalities in Python are implemented, those are implemented using C language completely. So that's why the regular Python, whatever we see here, that is also called as C Python.
Okay.
Now there are some different distributions like PyPy, which is something called as they used Python code again and implemented a new Python distribution using which is completely written in Python. So the underlying base is Python. On top of that, they have implemented Python. So it becomes PyPy. It is some another distribution. Currently, what we learn, currently what everyone uses as a general thing, it is a C Python, which means it is completely implemented in C language. Yeah.
Okay. Will we discuss Boolean as well?
Boolean, yeah, Boolean data type we did not discuss, is it?
Yeah, maybe we can cover it in the next session if it's.
Yeah, we can cover it. It is just true and false. It is
Yeah.
really easy. It's not a big deal, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. What is the use of identity operators?
Like we discussed, identity operators check whether the variable points to the same memory location or not. Like we saw here, we saw IDs, you can say. So ID of A, ID actually returns the memory location of any variable. So this location is different than location of B. That's why when we say A is B, is A's location same as B? It says false. So it is just checks a memory location.
Okay. What is the difference between Python and C Python?
Python is generally called as C Python, no difference. But there are several distributions, as I said, PyPy, or it is also called as Jython, which is implemented in Java. Underlying part is implemented in Java. So yeah, there are different distributions. Currently, what we learn currently, which is widely used, is C Python.
Okay. How do we declare a constant?
Constant. There is no constant in Python like C or C++. What we have is a simple variable and you assign the values. And it is a constant.
Okay.
So
And
in that way, you can say all immutable values like integers, strings, or tuples, they are constants because you cannot modify them. So you can say those are constant.
okay. And what other languages can I learn along with Python to build a good career?
Okay, you can, there are several domains you can move forward. Like you can gain knowledge in testing methodologies, and then you can go for test automations. Then you can learn web technologies like HTML, CSS with JavaScript for front end, back end. Combined with Python, this is a very good option. Then you can learn machine learnings. You can learn a lot of theories, algorithms, statistics, mathematics, and then you can move to that domain. So yeah, there are a lot of ways you combine these things, and I think you can go ahead easily.
What is PyFlakes used for that we usually see when we get an error?
PyFlakes.
Yeah, PyFlakes.
PyFlakes. No,
PyFlakes. PYFLAKES.
PYFLA Flake. Okay. So PyFlakes is nothing but I think it's a standard uh, by which how we should write the code. It's nothing to do with how code should be, how you should apply the logic, but it is just for viewing purpose how the code should looks. So there are certain standard you should give space. Suppose you're assigning something, then you should give space. Uh, if you're assigning some value, and then every variable should come one by one as like, let's see this example. This looks like a structure. So PyFlex is nothing but it guides. It's a kind of a styling guide. We call it a styling guide. Yeah, next question.
We'll take last two questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you explain hash table by simplifying it?
Hash table. Okay. So hash table is nothing but you say it's table. It's table, and what the table does is there is a value assigned to a key. When we say key is nothing but suppose we have house numbers. We have house numbers. Suppose in a row we have 4 houses which has numbers A, B, C, D. Or let's say we identify those numbers using these characters. We identify those houses using these characters. So when I say A, we get to know, okay, this is the house. When we see B, we get to know this is the house. C and D, the same way. Same way we have keys here in the table. You can see A is the key and hello is the value assigned to it. Now A directly deals with the memory notation. So what happens is when you have, see, we are seeing whatever for just learning purpose, we are assigning very small values, but in real-time programming, there are thousands of values stored in data types. Okay, so suppose there is a dictionary containing thousands of keys and thousands of values assigned to it. So in that environment, in that way, if you want to access something which is implemented in dictionaries, which implements this kind of hash table, it is very easy and comparatively fast to access the value. It is very easy and fast to access the value. Just pass the key name to dictionary and you will get the value. So it's a direct mapping from key to value, and it is a fast, it directly access the value compared to other data types like list, where we have to traverse to certain distance to get the value if there are thousands of values. Imagine this as we are talking in a real time of world, like in a row there are 1,000 students and I want to go and get the student sitting in 600 position. I don't know where it is sitting. But when you say there is a memory location, and since we are in a computing world, we can access memory location easily if we know the exact position. That way, dictionaries are faster because those are implemented in using hash table. So this is kind of general representation of hash table, and those are faster. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Salil bhai, we are done, and most of the questions you've already answered or you have covered in the session. So since we are running out of time as well, so we are closing the Q&A now. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think I mean, for people who are asking some basic questions, okay, so they've either been answered. I hope that they've been either be answered with your previous queries, okay,
Yeah,
or
because one
yes.
thing is like we cannot cover so many questions. You have to bear with us. You note down the points every time we discuss something new or you don't understand this. Those kind of points or keywords later you can search, or you can make a question of that and you can post so that Mr. Said can collect them and ask in question answer sessions. So this is sometimes a bit hectic. Okay, we tend to get bored because we don't understand some keywords, but just bear with us because since we have a lot of people joined with us in this session, it is not possible to entertain everyone's query. Yeah. Saeed bhai?
All right. So I think Saeed Bhai's
Yeah,
network is okay. He's back.
yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Salil bhai, for that wonderful lecture one more time. And as I told earlier, okay, we hope to see more and more participants, coming in. And so it's a great privilege again to have you on board. And we hope to see you next Thursday, again, same time, okay, with a different topic this time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Humira, can you please close?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Saeed Bhai. And thank you, Salil Bhai, for today's lecture on Python programming. Alhamdulillah, we are done with today's topic, data types and functions. We will be meeting again on 30th July at the same time, that is 7:30 p.m. India time, for the next topic, file operations, exceptions, OOPS, part 1. To all the participants, it is always a pleasure to have you all on board for our session today. Attending these sessions will always benefit you all in your career path. Team EMP Hyderabad has organized these sessions for you all exclusively, so let's not miss this opportunity to engage ourselves in our career building by learning this one of the most popular languages of data science field. So attending these sessions will always help you in your career building. EMP, in association with Team Hyderabad, has organized these sessions for you all. So let's keep coming to these sessions. So if any point of time you want to join us in our community work, please visit the link www.ampindia.org/joinamp. Don't forget to spread about us and our sessions in your network, and let us bring more people to get benefited by these free online learning sessions. I'm Homera signing off now. Goodbye for now. Stay home.